Hey, good morning, Sully. How you doing today?
Pretty good, man. It's 29 degrees, so we're still in winter sports mode.
Hey, I just walked in the door. From walking my dog. I know how cold it's outside, so obviously it's still winter. So we're gonna have to talk a little basketball.
There you go. We're gonna talk about Winslow, my boys. I told you not to sleep on the Eagles.
I told you I don't sleep on anyone. That's false pretenses. People think that I sleep on teams. You look at Winslow, and it's the same thing. New coach and your guy Wayne Nelson, but it's the same thing that they seem to go through year after year. They have a lackluster, what appears to be a lackluster regular season. They pile up double-digit losses, but they get into the tournament. They start turning it up. Maybe I don't know. Maybe two and a half weeks before the tournament starts, and next thing you know, they're knocking off teams, and they're putting themselves in position to win a sectional title. So, am I surprised by this run by Winslow? Not at all, because I kind of thought this is what was going to happen, because it's just the trend with Winslow. So, obviously a very tall task this afternoon with Mainland, but I think Wayne Nelson will have them prepared. They've got some athletes. They obviously are playing at the level in which they kind of wanted to play at for most of the season, but just didn't. And, at this point in time, anything can happen.
Yeah, my upset special didn't exactly pan out. I thought Pemberton would make it through a couple of rounds, but they were upended in the opening round.
Yeah, you decided to choose the Hornets, and you didn't really survive that too well. But the Timber Creek is a team that, is another team that I think a lot of people looked at them at the beginning of the season and saw who they had, even though they lost a good part of their team from last year, and kind of figured, okay, well, in 3, Creek can still challenge. And Creek went through a stretch during the season where they lost, I believe it was 8 or 9 in a row, and they weren't looking good on paper. But if you kind of know what was going on with the Creek at that point in time, they had some injuries. It seemed like kids were dropping like flies with sickness. They did not have the consistency you were looking for. Just like Winslow, a couple weeks, down to the last week or two of the regular season, everybody's healthy, everybody's on the same page. They're getting production from what may, aside from the assortment of juniors that play at Shawnee, you got a 1-2 junior tandem in Isaiah Sanders and Maurice Murray at Timber Creek that may be among the best. Well, not maybe, is among the best 1-2 junior tandems in South Jersey. These guys can fill it up. They can get to the rack. They can shoot from distance. They have a mid-range jump shot. So offensively, they can take care of business. Defensively, they probably got to clamp down a little bit more, and that's something they'll have to work on. But here's a Timber Creek team that's going to take on district rival Triton in about an hour and a half or so. And at this point, I've seen Timber Creek. I was very impressed with what they did against Highland, and they knock off Triton today. There's a team that playing for a sectional championship.
Yeah, I was impressed with Triton. I thought Ocean City would be able to win that game just because of the outside play they have, and a guy like Lebrano. And some of the defensive rebounding, they've been good at that all year. But Triton, man, they got a lead. They hung on there at the end, and real nice job by them to kind of withstand what was really an extended run by Ocean City for about 8-9 minutes. They kept chipping away, and actually tied the game at 50 before Gargan came up with a couple of free throws at the end there. But that was a real exciting game, and that's what you love about high school basketball is these playoff games. I mean, I was talking to Mike McGarry in the previous segment about you get these student sections, and they fill an entire section. They're going back and forth, and it's really fun to watch.
Yeah, obviously this is the time of year everybody points to, and when we get down to this stage, these final couple of games, that's when you're not going to see you really shouldn't be seeing a bad game. You should really be seeing a highly competitive game in a gym that's got some energy in it. And that's one of the best things about high school basketball is when you get into that gym. It may be 20 degrees outside, but when we get into the gyms this afternoon, it's going to be like 80 degrees, and things are going to be heating up. And coaches are you got to value every possession, and coaches are going to go ballistic on the sidelines because every basket, like I said, every possession means something. And you got kids that, I just want to go out and play. So at this stage of the game, this is where, you've got to put it all together. If you want to be a champion, you've got to put it all together. Some teams have been able to do that. Some teams have not. But, especially in, Group 3, you catch a hot team right now. I would not be surprised at all if we see a Winslow-Timber Creek sectional final, because it's just those teams are just so hot right now and playing so well. This is what they've worked for, and they've had some struggles and bumps in the road, but they survived those and got to where they needed to be. So, like I said, it's the best time. For a high school basketball fan, obviously this is the best time of year.
Yeah, we talked last week, and we're talking with Kevin Minnick of the Courier-Post here on 97.3 ESPN. We talked last week, Kevin, about how the sections would break down, and you look at 4, 2, 1, and non-public A. It's either the top 2 seeds or the top 4 seeds all still alive, and we kind of talked last week about Group 3 was that wild card. You never know who was going to come into the semifinals of that, and as we see, you got a 4 seed against an 8 seed and a 6 against a 10. So that's been kind of a topsy-turvy group or section, I should say, and we kind of anticipated that.
Yeah, like I said, 3, for my money, 3 was, when you look at the total picture of South Jersey basketball, 3 was probably not the strongest section. But, there's teams in there capable of knocking off each other, and that's exactly what's happened. And, you mentioned 4 and 2, and, I look at the brackets now, and up until last night when Toms River North knocked off Cherokee, I got every game right in Group 4. So I thought 4 would work its way down to pretty much to where it's at right now, and I thought maybe Cherokee would have enough to knock off Toms River North, but obviously that North team must be pretty good to get to the final. They're going to run into a Shawnee team that is just incredibly hot right now. Essentially they've been hot all season, and they don't have a senior in the starting lineup. So, they're obviously a team that is extremely talented, playing extremely well. And, you talk to a couple kids and really you ask them, what the key to success is in the game and stuff. And it's been like a broken record. You get the same answer every time, especially from a couple of the kids. They will pass up a good shot for a better shot. And that's their philosophy, and it's worked for them all season long. And, Shawnee knocks off a Lenape team yesterday by 13, and I don't even think it probably wasn't even that close. Shawnee is just running on all cylinders right now, all 5 starters in double figures, and they spread the basketball. They share the basketball. There's no superstar. They've got one of the better point guards in South Jersey in junior Dean Knoll. They got one of the better forwards in junior Dylan Delaney, and they're just playing extremely well. And then you look at Group 2, and 2 has kind of played itself out to where I thought it would as well. I mean, there's a couple games in there. I didn't think Lower Cape May could go on the road and beat Cinnaminson, but they found a way to do that. I really thought Middle would have a little bit more of a shot to get further, but they bowed out in the first round. But, I had Camden Haddonfield playing in the final from the beginning, and that's what we're going to get. It'll be the last game at Camden High School before they knock down the school at the end of the school year to build a new building. But, like I said, 4 and 2 kind of played out the way I thought. 1 is getting there. And like we said, Group 3 was up for grabs, and it certainly turned out to be that way.
Kevin, how about Group 2? What kind of matchup is that for Haddonfield? Obviously Camden's one of the top teams in South Jersey, always athletic. They're kind of a high-flying type of team. They like to get up and down and run the floor a little bit. How tough is that a matchup for Haddonfield?
From an athletic standpoint, clearly the edge goes to Camden. What Haddonfield's going to have to do to win that game is slow the pace. They can't get into a track meet with Camden. They can't. And the thing is, and it's going to be extremely difficult to do, is they can't let the crowd really get behind these kids from Camden and add that factor to it. Haddonfield's going to have to find a way, like I said, to just slow the game down, and they're going to have to be methodical. And I think, they're capable of doing that. Haddonfield's another team that's extremely young. Brendan Gilmartin, I believe, is their only senior. They've got a nice group of sophomores led by Mike DePersia. So, they're going to have to slow that game down. But, on the flip side, this is the last game ever at Camden High School. And the storied tradition of that basketball program and that school, the Castle on the Hill, and all the greats who have come through that gym and gone on to great things and great coaching and just a program that, when you look at South Jersey basketball and you go anywhere in the country and you mention Camden High School, people know who you're talking about. So, they have that behind them. They're a very, very good basketball team. They played an extremely tough schedule, had a couple losses here and there, but, in this tournament, they've kind of put things together. They've created some separation. Miles Thompson, junior forward, clearly an all-South Jersey candidate, has had a tremendous year, averaging a double-double. And, and a guy like a senior guard in John Evans, who you kind of think John Evans has been in the program for like 6 or 8 years. It just seems like every time you go to a Camden game, John Evans is playing. But, it's going to be an emotional game for Camden, come Tuesday. And, they're going to have to temper that down a little bit and play their basketball game and not let Haddonfield dictate the pace.
Yeah, I think the real key for that game is, if Camden jumps out to a 6-0 lead or an 8-0 lead, man, those walls are going to be shaking. That place is going to be going crazy. So if you're Haddonfield, you gotta be able to stay close at least through the end of the first quarter. Yeah,
if they're within, I'd say 6 to 8 points at halftime, they should be in good. That's an okay position to be in. But like you said, if you allow the emotion of the game and the crowd to get behind it, and Camden starts feeding off those fans, and those fans are relentless. They have remained relentless fans. They love their team. They expect nothing less than a win. And if you walk out of the gym without a win, it's a disappointment. It's a major disappointment. They lost to St. Anthony by 1 point as R.J. Cole hits a jumper with 6 seconds left. A lot of people would say, "Oh, that was a great game. That was a great experience. We'll learn from it." And all. No, they wanted the W. They were that close. So, Camden fans they're fanatical, and you can't, you got to go into that gym knowing that that's part of what you are going to face. And as an opposing team, you've got to find a way to kind of shut that out and not let Camden feed off of their fans. Because when they feed off their fans and they get rolling, next thing you know, it's 4 points, it's 6 points, and then they're stealing a dunk, and it could be game over. So Paul Wiedemann's he's been in big games before. He knows what it takes to win big games. He'll have a game plan. Will they be able to execute it is obviously a different story, but I think that Haddonfield will be competitive and give Camden a good game in the last game in that gym, and we'll see what happens. But I think right now, if Camden doesn't win that game, it'll be a major disappointment.
Yeah, and you talk about just psychologically, you're talking about 16, 17, 18-year-old kids. I mean, that's a tough environment to go into with the fans going crazy, and I mean, it's you talk about us against the world, man. That really embodies the challenge that they're facing today, on Tuesday.
Yeah, you got the pep band playing up in the corner. You got the fans screaming and yelling. You got the old timers that come back. You got the guys like DeJuan Wagner coming to every game. It's not your quote unquote typical high school basketball game when you go to a game at Camden High.
Good stuff as always, Kevin. We're up against a break. Got to let you go, but enjoy the rest of the weekend. We'll catch up with you next week, and we'll try to figure out what's going on here as we move on to the next steps of the high school basketball tournaments. Yeah, well, next week we'll be talking about the state finals. So nice. Hopefully South Jersey's got some teams playing up at the rack on a week from Sunday. Good stuff as always, Kevin. Appreciate it, bud. All right, Sully. We'll talk to you soon. All right, have a good weekend, man. You too. That was Kevin Minnick of the Courier-Post.